Deep dive.
Always fun to dive in.
Today we're going to be tackling success principles and mindset.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're going to be looking at David Schwartz's The Magic of Thinking Big.
Classic.
Yeah, and we've got an audiobook excerpt on YouTube.
Okay.
And we're going to pull out those key insights so you can apply them to your own life, whatever your goals are.
Awesome. Love it. I think this book really flips the script on what we usually think about success. You know, it's not all about just being a genius
Right.
or having tons of resources. It's about how big you're willing to think.
Yeah, and he really brings that to life with that story about Harry, the salesman, who's earning like 5 times more than all his colleagues.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he was working harder or anything. He thought 5 times bigger.
Right.
Now that sounds catchy, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, Schwartz dives into that, you know?
Yeah.
Harry didn't just wish for bigger sales. He set his sights on landing major accounts that others thought were out of reach, you know? He believed he could close those deals, so he put in the extra effort, the extra preparation. And, you know, that confidence, I think, actually helped him win over those clients.
So it's about setting a higher bar for yourself,
Totally.
right? Like mentally adjusting your thermostat forward,
Yes.
as Schwartz puts it, believing you're capable of more than you currently think.
Exactly. And, you know, it's interesting. I think studies have shown that positive self-talk can actually improve performance.
Right.
It's like you're priming your brain for success.
Yeah, but I mean, we all know there are things that hold us back,
For sure.
like those little voices of doubt, or what Schwartz calls
Oh,
excusitis.
the excusitis, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real epidemic.
It is.
It's all those excuses we make to avoid taking risks and aiming higher.
And he breaks it down into different types, right?
He does, yeah.
Like elac brains,
Right. Right.
which is basically using your perceived lack of intelligence as an excuse.
Yeah.
I think we've all felt that at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we don't measure up.
Totally. It's a trap.
Yeah.
You know, Schwartz points out that most people actually underestimate their own intelligence
Mm.
while overestimating everyone else's.
Right.
He even gives this example of a guy with a PhD who ended up driving a truck in the Army
Wow.
because he let his negative thinking convince him he wasn't capable of more.
That's a pretty stark example of how self-doubt can hold us back even if we have the skills and the knowledge.
Yeah.
So how do we fight back against this elac brains excusitis?
So Schwartz suggests 2 powerful tools,
Okay.
positive self-talk
Yeah?
and managing your memory bank.
Okay, love the sound of that memory bank. Tell me more.
Okay, so he uses this brilliant analogy of the memory as a bank,
Okay.
where you can choose to deposit positive or negative thoughts. So instead of dwelling on past failures, you know, focus on those moments where you succeeded,
Yeah.
where you felt confident and capable. Right. You know, intentionally deposit those memories, those feelings, so you can withdraw them when you need a boost.
That's so powerful. It's like consciously choosing to focus on the evidence that supports your ability to succeed.
Yeah.
It's not about ignoring the challenges, but about reminding yourself of your strengths and your past wins.
Right. It's about creating a mental environment that supports your growth and fuels your confidence.
Yeah.
You have the power to shape your thoughts, and your thoughts shape your reality.
That's a great takeaway right there. And speaking of shaping reality,
Yeah.
Schwartz talks a lot about the importance of thinking big, not selling yourself short.
Right.
But how do we actually shift from thinking small to thinking big?
Well, he suggests a few really practical strategies. One is developing a big thinker's vocabulary.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does our vocabulary affect our thinking?
Well, think about it. You know, you're about to tackle a challenging project,
Yeah.
and you hear yourself saying, "It's no use, I'm going to fail."
Yeah.
What if instead you said, "This might be tough, but I'm going to give it my best shot"?
Right.
Right. Schwartz says that by consciously choosing words that empower you rather than limit you, you can actually start to shift your mindset.
So it's about replacing those small negative phrases with bigger, more positive ones.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying, it's no use, we're whipped.
Right.
You'd say, we're not whipped yet. Let's keep trying.
Exactly. And he doesn't stop there. He also encourages us to see what can be, not just what is.
That sounds like a pretty big mental leap. How do we actually start doing that?
He uses this great example of a successful realtor.
Okay.
You know, instead of just focusing on a property's current state, this realtor sells properties based on their potential. He paints a picture of what the property could become with a little vision and effort.
So it's about seeing the possibilities,
Mm.
adding value, thinking beyond the limitations of the present.
Yeah.
And this applies to everything.
Right,
Every
everything.
people, projects, even ourselves.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the potential for growth and improvement in everything and everyone. And that brings us to another key theme: thinking creatively and challenging traditional thinking.
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
He cautions against clinging to the way things have always been done, right?
He does, yeah. He argues that this kind of thinking stifles innovation and progress. Instead, he encourages us to be receptive to new ideas, embrace experimentation, and seek out diverse perspectives. And he has this great question: how can I do better?
And he emphasizes that it's a question we should be asking ourselves constantly. Not just when things are going wrong, but even when they're going well.
All the time. Think about it. You're running a business, and you're content with things going okay.
Yeah.
But what if you constantly asked yourself, how can I do better?
Right.
This is exactly what this young woman did. She opened a hardware store, and instead of settling, she kept asking that question. And guess what? Within 4 years, she had 4 thriving stores. That's the power of this simple question.
Wow. That's an incredible story. It shows how a simple shift in mindset can lead to massive success.
Yeah.
It's not about being complacent, but about constantly striving for improvement.
Exactly.
But sometimes our environment can hold us back from reaching our full potential.
Yeah.
Schwartz talks about the impact of negative people who he calls negators.
Negators. Oh, yeah. I've met a few.
Negators, okay.
Yeah.
I've definitely encountered a few of those in my life.
Yeah.
What's the best way to deal with them?
Well, it's not always possible to avoid them completely,
Right.
but you can limit their influence. He suggests surrounding yourself with positive influences, what he calls going first class.
I love that.
Yeah.
Going first class in our environments. What does that look like in practice?
He gives this great example of a department store executive
Okay.
who intentionally seeks out friends from diverse fields to broaden his perspective and expose himself to new ideas.
So it's about curating your environment,
Totally.
both in terms of the people you surround yourself with
Yeah,
and the experiences you seek out.
precisely. It's about creating an environment that challenges and stimulates you, both personally and professionally.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's like choosing to spend your time in a vibrant, stimulating city rather than a sleepy, isolated village.
That's a great analogy. But even with the right mindset and environment, we still need to take action.
We do, absolutely. And that's where Schwartz's emphasis on the action habit comes in.
Okay.
He contrasts those who take action, who he calls activationists, with those who procrastinate and make excuses, the passivationists.
Right.
And he cautions against waiting for the perfect moment, stressing the importance of starting now, even if you don't feel fully ready.
Yeah, and he also talks about developing initiative.
Initiative, yeah.
Right, which is doing what needs to be done without being told, taking ownership, going above and beyond.
Yep.
He tells this great story of a missionary salesman who created a whole marketing research department for his company.
Wow.
Simply because he saw a need and took the initiative to fill it.
Amazing.
Now, that's what I call thinking big.
That's great.
It's a powerful reminder that an initiative can open doors and lead to amazing opportunities. But what happens when we face those inevitable setbacks?
Yeah, well, setbacks are a part of life, but Schwartz encourages us to see defeat as a state of mind.
Okay.
It's not about letting setbacks define you, but about learning from them and turning them into opportunities for growth.
Right.
He talks about salvaging something from every setback.
Yeah.
Analyze what went wrong, learn the lesson,
Yeah.
and apply that knowledge to future endeavors.
So it's not about avoiding failure,
Right.
but about changing our relationship to it.
Exactly. And he also reminds us to find the good side, even in difficult situations. Sometimes the greatest opportunities are hidden within our biggest challenges.
This reminds me of the saying, every cloud has a silver lining.
Yeah, I love that.
It's about choosing to focus on the positive, even amidst challenges.
Yeah.
But how do we maintain that momentum, that forward movement?
Well, Schwartz is a big believer in the power of setting clear goals. He calls them objectives.
Okay.
And suggests developing a 30-day improvement guide for personal and professional growth.
Okay, let's break that down.
Yeah.
What does a 30-day improvement guide look like?
He walks through this example of setting specific, achievable goals for personal and professional growth.
Yeah.
It could be improving your communication skills, reading more books, expanding your network, whatever is relevant to your current aspirations.
So it's about breaking down those big, audacious goals into smaller, actionable steps, right?
Exactly. And it's about holding yourself accountable by tracking your progress and celebrating your wins along the way.
This is where we get really practical.
Totally, yeah.
He provides a concrete framework for setting achievable goals and tracking progress.
Yeah.
It's like having a roadmap to help you reach your destination.
Precisely. But it's important to remember that life rarely goes according to plan.
Right. We're bound to encounter some detours along the way.
We are. That's why Schwartz reminds us to be prepared to take detours.
Right.
Setbacks and unexpected events are bound to happen. But it's about adapting, adjusting course, and staying focused on your ultimate destination.
It's like having a GPS for your life, guiding you toward your goal.
Exactly.
Even when there are roadblocks.
Yeah.
But even with the best plan and the right attitude, there's one more crucial element that Schwartz highlights.
Okay.
Investing in yourself.
Yeah. He's a firm believer in the power of continuous learning and development. He says it's the best investment you can make because it compounds over time.
And he's not just talking about formal education, right?
No. It's about reading books, attending workshops, taking online courses, seeking out mentors, anything that expands your knowledge and skills.
It's about staying curious and constantly pushing yourself to learn and grow.
Absolutely. And Schwartz also provides valuable insights into leadership principles.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of thinking right toward people, which means treating others with respect and courtesy, even when they are difficult.
That sounds like a valuable principle, not just for leaders, but for everyone.
He uses this great example of an appliance salesman who treats his customers like guests in his home.
Oh, nice.
Fostering trust and loyalty.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
It's about seeing the humanity in everyone and treating them accordingly.
Exactly.
And this ties into another leadership principle he talks about, thinking progress.
Right. He says that true leaders are always looking for ways to improve, to challenge the status quo, and to push for growth. He tells the story of a sales manager who was impressed by a salesman who was always suggesting ways to do things better.
Right.
This proactive mindset, this commitment to progress, is what sets true leaders apart.
So it's not just about maintaining the status quo,
No.
but about constantly seeking innovation and improvement.
Exactly. And ultimately, that's what the magic of thinking big is all about.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a mindset that embraces challenges, fosters creativity, and fuels continuous growth. It's a reminder that we are all capable of achieving incredible things if we dare to think big, believe in ourselves, and take action.
It's a powerful message of empowerment.
Yeah.
And it's relevant to everyone, regardless of your background or aspirations.
It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your own destiny.
And that power starts with your thoughts.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the magic of thinking big, what resonates most with you?
For me, that whole idea of excusitis really hit home.
Yeah.
It's so easy to fall into those traps of self-doubt,
Right.
and make excuses for why we're not going after what we truly want.
Totally.
What about you? What stood out to you?
What really struck me was that Schwartz presents success as a skill you can develop. It's not like some magical quality that you're born with.
Right.
It's about intentionally cultivating the right mindset and putting those principles into practice.
And he really gives you the tools to do that.
Senses.
From managing your memory bank to developing a big thinker's vocabulary.
Right.
These are all actionable strategies that we can start using today.
Absolutely. It's about taking ownership of your thoughts and recognizing that they have a direct impact on your actions and outcomes.
Exactly. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, let's leave our listener with a final thought-provoking question. What's one big goal you'll commit to working towards starting today?
Ooh. Write it down, create a plan, and take that first step. Remember, the magic of thinking big starts with believing you can succeed.
And if you're hungry for more, we highly recommend checking out the full audiobook of The Magic of Thinking Big. It's packed with even more wisdom and practical advice to help you unleash your full potential.
Until next time, keep thinking big and keep diving deep.
It's funny, as we're talking about all this, I'm thinking about how often I've let those negators get into my head.
Oh, yeah.
It's like their negativity becomes contagious, and then suddenly I'm doubting myself, too.
It's so true. Negativity can be insidious. But remember that department store executive we talked about?
Uh-huh.
The one who intentionally surrounds himself with people from diverse fields? That's a great example of how to counteract those negative influences.
Yeah, it's like building a shield of positivity around yourself.
Exactly. And it's not just about the people you surround yourself with, it's the information you consume,
Right.
the experiences you seek out. It's about curating a whole environment that supports your growth and fuels your ambition.
Yeah, that going first class idea, that really resonated with me.
Yeah.
It's like choosing to upgrade your entire experience of life.
Totally.
But even with all the right tools and the right mindset, taking that first step can still feel daunting.
Oh, for sure. That's where that action habit comes in.
Right.
Remember, Schwartz talks about being an activationist, not a passivationist. It's about taking action, even if it's imperfect, even if you're not 100% ready.
And he makes this great point about how over-preparing can actually lead to inaction.
Oh, yeah.
It's like we're so afraid of making a mistake that we end up stuck in this cycle of planning and never actually doing.
It's like that old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
I love that. It's a reminder that there's no perfect time to start. So just start. And I think that ties into the whole idea of initiative, which Schwartz talks about as well.
Yeah, he tells that amazing story about the missionary salesman
Right.
who basically created a whole marketing research department just because he saw a need and took the initiative to fill it.
Yeah, that story is so inspiring.
It is.
It shows that sometimes you have to create your own opportunities. You can't just wait for someone to give you permission to shine.
Exactly. And even when those setbacks inevitably come, remember that they're not the end of the story.
Right. Schwartz has that great line about how defeat is really just a state of mind.
Yeah.
It's not about letting those setbacks define you, but about learning from them
Right.
and using them as fuel for growth.
Absolutely. He talks about salvaging something from every setback, analyze what went wrong, extract the lesson, and apply it to your next endeavor.
Yeah, it's like turning those failures into stepping stones on your path to success.
For sure. And remember, even in those tough moments, look for the good side. Often, the greatest opportunities are hidden within our biggest challenges.
It's all about choosing to focus on the positive and looking for those silver linings. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that success really is a skill you can develop. It's not about luck or circumstance. It's about intentionally cultivating a big thinking mindset and putting those principles into practice.
I couldn't agree more. Schwartz gives us a whole toolkit of strategies to do just that.
He does.
From managing our memory banks to developing a big thinker's vocabulary to taking action and embracing those inevitable setbacks, we have everything we need to start creating the lives we want.
So for anyone listening, we challenge you to ask yourself, what's that one big goal you've been putting off? That dream you've been afraid to chase?
Yeah, write it down, create a plan, and take that first step today. Remember, the magic of thinking big starts with believing you can succeed.
And if you want to dive even deeper into this topic, we highly recommend checking out the full audiobook of The Magic of Thinking Big.
Yeah.
It's packed with even more wisdom and practical advice to help you unlock your full potential.
Until next time, keep thinking big and keep diving deep.